And welcome back, everybody, to a podcast in space and time. Today we are talking about Doctor Who Series 1, Episode 9, The Empty Child. I'm Holden B. Huffman.
I'm Kendal Coffee.
And we'll be right back after this intro. Okay, so Kendal.
Yes.
You know, when most people talk about a Captain Jack, what do most people think of?
I would think probably Captain Jack Sparrow from the beloved Pirates of the Caribbean film franchise.
Right. Most people are like, Captain Jack Sparrow. I'm like, no.
Listen, y'all. There is one Captain Jack that we stan here on a podcast in space and time, and that is Captain Jack Harkness.
Captain Jack Harkness all the way. Just a wonderful, lovely man.
I just love Captain Jack Harkness so
I just
much.
love John Barrowman.
John Barrowman. He's so good.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, welcome to our John Barrowman fan podcast.
Yeah. And, you know, he's been in Arrow. He's a villain on the CW DC show Arrow. And yeah,
beloved CW DC show Arrow.
Not by me, but
I have seen like half an episode, and not to get on the bad side of Arrow fans, but I don't think it's for me really. It's a little bit, it's a little bit in the edgy side of DC for my taste.
It really is. Like, I watched the first 2 episodes, and I watched the first episode of Flash. I just couldn't get into it.
I did enjoy Flash. I got pretty far into Flash before getting distracted, but it's definitely one I would return to.
I have watched all the clips of certain stuff from the last big crossover thing they did, because you had people like not Christopher Reeves, but Brandon, I don't remember, the guy who played Superman in Superman Returns. And also Kevin Conroy as Bruce Wayne.
Oh, nice.
And Ezra Miller's Flash.
Oh, I do love Ezra. I love both of the Flashes. I did enjoy the Flash show. It's kind of night and day to the Arrow show, though.
Right, and I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the Fox show Gotham. It's a love-hate relationship with that.
I feel that. Anyway, let's talk about Doctor Who.
Okay, enough about our DC fandom stuff.
Welcome to our DC podcast.
Yeah, welcome. Welcome to our random tangents.
Let's talk about the episode.
Yeah. So first off, just a solid episode. Like, one of my favorites of the season. Like, I'm kind of debating whether this or Dalek is my favorite. It's very difficult.
This is a very good part 1 episode, and I think that like probably just because it's part 1 of 2 parts brings it down in my ranking a little bit, just because like, you know, with any like 2-parter Doctor Who you know, like episodes, I think you lose a little bit of the like the unique quality that makes Doctor Who what it is, because like I think a lot of what makes Doctor Who really special is in how the Doctor resolves conflict. And when you have a 2-part episode, you don't really get that resolution. You just get sort of the build up to the revolution, and you do get a lot of very Doctor-y moments, and there's some great Doctor moments in this episode, but how the Doctor resolves things, I think, is really what sets the show apart in a lot of ways.
And there are a lot of episodes in the future, which we've talked about previously with Aliens of London and World War III, where their 2-parters really are solid episodes and can really do it good.
Right, yeah.
There are some, but that is one of the downfalls of Doctor Who, is that they're 2-parters. Sometimes it feels like it should have just been a one-time episode.
And I don't think that's the case here. I think this definitely needed to be a 2-parter.
Oh, definitely.
There's a lot of story threads that it introduces, and there's a lot to this kind of mystery it's creating, and I think it does it very well. But
the suspense and everything, it's really good. Like, I wrote down, I'm not a horror movie fan. I'm really not. Like, I just not a fan of that kind of stuff. But
Right. Yeah, I'm
mhm,
with you there. I don't really like things that are really gory, and also
mhm.
things that are have a lot of like jump scares. And I think a
I
lot
can
of horror.
I can handle the gore. It's mainly the jump scares for me.
Yeah, I mean, like I can handle some degree of gore. There's just like it seems to get gratuitous
Mhm.
sometimes with horror movies. Like I really
Yeah.
like Logan, and that's a very gory movie, but it's
Right, right, right. And like
it's
the Terminator, like it's got some gory moments, but it's still a really good film.
yeah, it's just there's just like some, I don't know. It seems to be a thing with horror movie where it does get a little gratuitous at times, and
Yeah, definitely.
but I think what this episode does really well is it's very suspenseful, and that's
Hmm.
what I enjoy in like a kind of horror story, is something with a really good build up of suspense that kind of keeps you on the edge of your seat, and kind of keeps you guessing in a way.
Yeah. And that's also a downfall to so many movies is like the suspense is so built up, but then when you see what the actual monster is, it's kind of a letdown.
Yeah, especially nowadays when
Hmm.
there's, and I don't like mean to harp on CGI a lot, because I think it's a very good artistic medium, and it's a very,
Hmm.
like it's come a long way, but I
Right.
think there's almost a over reliance on it in some ways, especially when you're trying to make something really scary,
Hmm. Like
because there's
CGI has its place, but it really should be used mostly for practical things, like things you can get away with easily with using CGI, like a lot like what Christopher Nolan does.
Well, and I don't know. It's a tricky place for me,
Mm,
especially as an artist. Like I can really appreciate the ability to create things that really couldn't be created in physical ways. Like I
that's
get it,
true. That's true.
but
Like Thanos, for instance, he looks absolutely beautiful.
yeah, and I think like a really good example of a CGI monster that works really well is from A Quiet Place. The monsters in that movie,
Hey,
they
hey,
look,
no spoilers. I've
no
still not seen that.
spoilers.
I've still not
Um,
seen that.
it's a great film.
Yeah, I've been meaning to. I have been meaning
One
to.
of the movies that's kind of in the horror genre that I actually really enjoy. But I think why they work so well is because you don't really see them much until the very
Mhm.
end.
Like that's why I enjoy Stranger Things so much. It's a lot more built on suspense and mystery
Right,
as
yeah.
well.
And also, like, I don't know, there's something to be said for a really good monster design, be it CGI or not. And
Mhm.
I guess a lot of um, there's a lot of movies where once you see the monster design, it's not that good.
Like Jaws 3D.
Yeah,
Have you seen Jaws 3D?
I have not.
I haven't seen the. I've seen a review on it, and it is pathetic. The CG is pathetic. It's like Spy Kids 3D. Like they knew they were shooting it in 3D, so they took advantage of the 3D and threw things in your face.
Yeah, that's one fad that I'm glad has passed on
Oh,
mostly
thank
at this point,
God.
is 3D. For a while, it was every movie
Hmm.
was in 3D. I remember we saw Captain America Winter Soldier in 3D, and
Oh, did you?
it was not a pleasant experience.
Hmm. Yeah, I saw.
3D kind of makes me seasick.
Uh, yeah, the only two I've only seen two movies in 3D. The Doctor Who 50th anniversary special, and
Yeah.
uh, and Thor Ragnarok. And I think that's why I didn't really like Thor Ragnarok the first time I viewed it, because the 3D was just so in my face, and didn't fully enjoy the film.
Thor Ragnarok is already kind of a trip as it is.
Yeah,
I can't imagine adding 3D on top of that,
it
especially
was
for
a
your first
wild
time through.
ride. And like now Thor Ragnarok's one of my favorite Marvel movies.
Oh yeah,
But
same.
the first viewing, it's just like, oh gosh, I just didn't enjoy it. And I think it really was because of the 3D.
Yeah, and I did see The Winter Soldier twice, and the time I saw it in 3D, I enjoyed it a lot less than the other time,
Hmm.
in theaters. That is, I've seen it since then, but
Right.
um,
Okay, back to Doctor Who.
back to Doctor Who.
um, I love that the episode just gets straight into it. Like
Yeah, we were talking.
before the title sequence.
Yeah, it has like I think that it's in media res is what they call it when you kind of jump straight into the middle of the
Okay.
action.
Okay. I
Um,
should probably know that. I'm a theater student. I should probably know that.
in media res is what it's called. Yeah,
Okay.
but like a very intense, like kind of takes you a minute to get your sea legs kind of
Mm-hmm.
intro, and I really enjoy that. And I think this was the right time in the season to do that kind of
Right.
intro.
It's nearing the end of the season.
Right. Yeah. It really wouldn't work earlier on in the season before we
Right.
quite know what the show is about. But now, like we know what's happening. We know who the Doctor
Mm-hmm.
is, who Rose is, how time travel works, and
Mm-hmm.
it works at this point to like throw us right into it and let us
Right.
catch up without it being like too frustrating.
And also, my boy Steven Moffat wrote this episode.
Steven Moffat. We have very like mixed feelings on Steven Moffat, and I think most of the Doctor Who fandom does as well. I think
Most
the
of
thing
mine
with
are pretty positive, and for me.
yeah, and I think I mostly feel pretty positive about, especially with like the Matt Smith era stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think, and we'll talk about all that later. But the thing with Moffat is when he does things well, he does them very well.
And when he does them
And
bad, he does them very bad.
right, and this is definitely an example of him doing something very well.
Right.
We have a great suspense. We have a great mystery. I know we talked a little bit about the villain, I guess, the monster of this episode, but I just love the simplicity of
Mm-hmm.
it's a kid in a gas mask, and
That's all it is.
that's all it is, and it's so simple, and it's so effective though. Like him walking around going "mommy" in that like
Yeah,
really
no, it's like it's
unsettling
really
way.
creepy. Like you really wouldn't think that would be something that's creepy, but it really is.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's something about like taking, I guess, something familiar, which would be like a kid, and
Mm-hmm.
bringing something kind of unsettling in a way. Like you have the
Right.
mask, and you
It's
can't
kind
see
of
the
it's kind of like Pennywise. Like
yeah.
you bring in something familiar, a clown, and then make it completely unsettling.
Right, yeah. Like you can't see the kid's face, the expression, or anything. You just like
Mm-hmm.
see him kind of walking around in almost an unnatural way, like
Right.
it's like the idea of, oh, that ain't no dog or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you see something that's like familiar, but it's not quite right.
I had the opposite effect when we saw the Hunger Games. Like, hey, that's a dog. No, that's supposed to be all the contestants mutated to look like a beast.
Yeah, and it was just a pit bull.
Yeah, I'm like, dude, it's supposed to be all the previous. It's supposed to be like Rue, everyone else mutated into beasts.
Yeah.
That's another tangent.
That was like one of Lionsgate's first like sort of science fiction movies, and I think
It's true.
I think they weren't quite ready to
Right, they really
give
hit
us the
for
full
me.
effect.
They really hit it out of the park with Catching Fire.
Catching Fire was great.
That's my favorite book of the series. It's my favorite film of the series.
Yeah. Anyway, back to Doctor Who.
Yeah, I love the London Blitz. Like the Doctor just walking up. Has anyone seen anything fall out of the sky? Maybe explode.
I was just thinking in that scene, like, okay, so the Doctor's not quite got the hang of knowing immediately where he is or what time period, or because later in the and I don't think this is really a spoiler,
It
but
really is.
Later in New Who, we see the Doctor will like arrive on a location and like kind of like taste the dirt and tell us exactly where we're at.
Yeah, no. I like in series 11 when the Doctor sees a sheep and I'm like, wait a second, I don't know what time period we are in, and then she takes a bite of the grass and is like, we're good, not there yet, not there yet.
Yeah, I love little moments like that. But yeah, it was funny that like the Doctor is not there yet, and kind of um, gets it wrong about I guess gets it wrong in a funny way,
Right.
and everybody just kind of starts laughing because
Hmm.
like things are falling from the sky all the time, of
Yep.
course. uh,
Um, what about Mickey?
this this keeps bothering me because honestly, like Rose and Captain Jack's interactions were great. They
Yeah,
had really good
they have
chemistry.
great chemistry.
And like Billie Piper is like she's really good, obviously.
Hmm.
She's a great actress
Oh,
who
definitely.
she plays, I mean, she plays the part so well. And
Hmm.
I would find her so I would find her really charming and appealing if it were not for the fact that like she's
Right.
supposed to have a boyfriend.
Right. If Mickey Smith, we talked about this while watching the episode. If Mickey Smith just didn't exist at all,
Yeah, I would have no
I
problem
would.
with Rose
Yeah, no,
whatsoever.
I wouldn't. Exactly. Like that is my biggest problem with Rose. My problems with she'd probably be one of my favorite companions.
Yeah, because like I don't mind her like flirting with everybody. It's fun,
Right.
but like it's not fun when you think, okay, but she literally like ditched her boyfriend
Right.
in the, well, I guess future in this case, but in
Uh-huh.
his own time, and is kind of just like flirting with every attractive dude who comes along, and it's like,
Right. We had Adam, who turned out to be a total jerk, twirling his evil mustache.
yeah, yeah, and we've got Jack, and it's like, you know, if it wasn't working out with Rose and Mickey, I can understand that. I can understand if like, she wanted to break up with Mickey, but like
No.
just do it then.
Right.
Don't leave him literally hanging. Well,
Right.
not
No.
literally hanging,
Like
but
as a guy who's never been in a relationship and has been close to being in relationships before, it's not fun. It's not
yeah,
fun.
don't just leave Mickey hanging like that. Like cut the poor boy loose so he
Yeah.
can go
Move
off and
on.
be with so he can go off and be with somebody who's like better for him.
Yeah. Maybe someone else who's been screwed over by Rose and the Doctor.
Yeah.
That's a spoiler.
Spoilers.
It's a spoiler, but I didn't say the name, and so people have no idea what I'm talking about, except
It's
the
a
people
very
who
vague
have seen it.
spoiler.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, and I don't know. It's tough because, like, yeah, this is a really like they have some really fun moments
Hmm.
in this episode, but like all I could think in the back of my mind was, okay, but like Mickey, come on. Um,
Yeah, I wrote down again later in my notes, Rose, what about Mickey in all caps?
yeah.
That's when that I wrote that when they started dancing and everything.
Yeah, and like again, some really fun interactions with them. Obviously, Billie Piper was having a blast, and
I mean, if I was dancing with John Barrowman.
I mean, same. I would be having a blast too. But yeah, they were both like they both were having a lot of fun, just like the actors
Hmm.
and the characters, and you can kind of
Hmm.
tell when like the actor is really enjoying
Yeah,
enjoying a scene or an episode, and like I think that really comes across. Like they're both having a lot of fun. It seems
yeah,
like.
that's something I wrote down near the end of my notes. All these side characters are good. Like that's very rare in Doctor Who when you care about literally everyone on screen.
Yeah, I thought Nancy was great.
Hmm.
She's a very I think she was a more complex character than like you would normally see in this kind of role, because
Right.
we've seen sort of the lone character taking care of a bunch of orphans, like that type of character before.
Hmm.
Um, and I
Next, she'll be flying up to the Darling's house and picking up Wendy, John, and Michael.
yeah, yeah, she's got kind of like a Peter Pan thing,
Hmm.
but I thought her attitude like was very realistic. Like she wasn't overly optimistic. She wasn't overly
Right.
like upbeat or positive. She felt very like grounded as someone who's like actually living through a war and
Right.
like scraping to get by, and had lost someone close to her.
Hmm.
But at the same time still managing to just be a really good person
Mhm.
and to really care about people. Like she hadn't lost that, but you could definitely feel the loss that she had experienced.
Mhm. Right. And also, can we talk about the doctor's humanity of just, even though he senses something wrong with the child, he just can't bear the thought of leaving this child outside in the night during the London Blitz.
Yeah, he's
Mm.
so, I mean, he's so compassionate, and I think
Hmm.
that's something we see through every doctor, regardless of different personalities.
Right.
Is the doctor is compassionate, especially towards children. Like,
Especially children.
yeah, the doctor is not one to ever leave a child behind.
Mhm. I'm pretty sure the
And
doctor identifies as a child, so.
well, I don't think it's that, but and there are definitely versions, or like, versions of the doctor that are more childlike, I guess, in
Mhm.
personality. But
Right.
I think it's more like the doctor knows what it was like to be that child and to be
Uh-huh.
kind of lost and alone.
It reminds me
Um,
of a quote from Classic Who, actually. Tom Baker, the fourth doctor, said, "What's the point of being a grown-up if you can't act childish sometimes?"
yeah.
I
Or like that.
love that. That's one of my favorite quotes of anything of all time.
Yeah, it's a great quote. And I think like there are definitely certain doctors that kind of live by that. I think nine less so, but
Hmm.
we see it more with other doctors. Those
Especially
moments of,
11. Especially 11.
especially 11.
I mean, come on, he has a
The
Christmas list.
I love 11. Um, yeah, it would definitely feel weird if nine was like that, because like Chris just brings something very unique to his
Hmm.
doctor's performance. Like he's definitely a doctor kind of forged in the fires of war, and I think too we really see a connection with him and Nancy because of that. Like
They've
they're
both
both
lost
people who,
people.
yeah, they both lost a lot. And the moment when the doctor looks at her and asks like, "Who have you lost?"
Oh,
I
he
thought
didn't
that was
even look at her. He didn't even
um,
look at her when he said that.
well, yeah, I was using the figure of speech, but
Okay,
um,
okay, okay.
but yeah,
Well,
that
to
conversation.
me, it adds more weight the fact that he's not looking at her when he says that.
No, that's fair. No,
That's why I said that, because to me it feels like it adds more weight to the question.
no, I think that's fair. But that was a great scene though. Like the doctor is basically just like understands her, and
Hmm.
like they've both felt that. They've both felt that loss, and I think
Right,
they see that in each other in that scene, and it was just very good, a very good
right.
scene. Um, let's see what
The
else.
actor playing Dr. Constantine was really good.
He's very good. He's also in Merlin, which is another very good show, and also playing a doctor in Merlin. But no, he's great. His like moment before he like transforms into like the mask being was
Right.
just a very good bit of acting.
Hmm.
Um,
Even if the CG was very wacky with that, he still did a good job.
yeah, the CG was like, is a little bit off, but one thing it I mean, it did work to like be very like creepy and uncanny. So
Right.
in a way, it almost doesn't matter that it wasn't like super good CG, because like it gets the point across.
Right.
It um and it's was still a big improvement from like the trash can at the beginning of the season.
I'd forgotten about that.
Like honestly, even just like, yeah, episodes to episode, the effects have gotten a lot better. Um,
Except with the Slovene.
oh yeah. Um, but they obviously put a lot into like just how this episode looks, how it feels. Like the locations were great. Um, I would assume they probably shot on location a lot and didn't really
Hmm.
build much as far as sets, but
Well, I
like there
mean,
was,
to be fair, yeah, They do. Like, I do know they try not to film in London so much. Like, it's surprise, surprise, but
Yeah.
because they're in Cardiff. They film in Cardiff. That's why there's
Yeah.
so many that's why in Doctor Who you always see them in Cardiff so much, because they're literally filming in Cardiff.
Yeah.
That's where the studio is.
Right. And they even make jokes about that.
Yep.
But yeah, like there was some great locations there. I loved the hospital. It was so spooky, and it all felt. And I'm no I'm no historian, so I can't tell you how accurate everything was, but it all felt like it was 1941. It felt very true to the setting.
Mm-hmm. I got some Chronicles of Narnia, the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe vibes.
Yeah, kind of. There was a similar vibe to that, which makes sense because it's
takes place in the same time.
Yeah, it takes place in the same time period. During this episode, somewhere the Pevensies were off exploring a big house and getting lost in wardrobes.
Yep.
Yeah. So
that's all I have without getting into spoiler territory.
Let me look over my notes.
Okay.
I just had some random notes that are probably they're not really related to anything.
Yeah, no, I've been erasing quite a few notes.
One note I had that I just thought was funny is Rose going to spend the whole episode dangling from a rope? Which I think I wrote that down probably about 15 minutes in, because she had been dangling from that rope for a long time.
Right.
The doctor talking to a random cat was very good.
Yes, it was.
I also just enjoyed that we're kind of at the point in the season where Rose has kind of gotten the feel for how things work, and at the beginning of the episode, or not the beginning, but after the intro, when they're kind of had made their landing, you could tell she's on board. She knows what's happening. She knows kind of the right questions to ask.
Right.
Even her seeing through the psychic paper, I thought was very good.
Right.
Jack trying to use a psychic paper on her, and she's like, "Oh, it just says you're single or you're available or whatever."
Right.
Let's see. Yeah, I think that's about it. Again, just a very well-paced episode and a great mystery and an effective cliffhanger, even though it was a very simple cliffhanger, but I think it worked.
Yeah. Sometimes the most simplest of things are the most effective things.
Yeah, and I think that's where this episode really shines. It is simple. There's a lot of simplicity to it with the kid, with the ending. There's not there's a lot of sort of moving pieces, but you never really get overwhelmed, which
right.
I think there are definitely Moffat episodes later where that you do really get overwhelmed because there's so much. But this one handles everything very well and in mostly a simple way. I think that's why it works so well.
Right.
So yeah. Okay, let's get into spoilers.
Spoiler warning. I can't believe Rose dies in this episode.
I feel bad because I do feel like we bash on Rose a little too much, and I can understand maybe some fans would be upset with that, and also just making Rose dying jokes, but
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, that's not why I'm making those jokes, because I don't like her. I'm just making those jokes because we made it once and it's just become a running joke. That's the only reason why.
No, it's I don't know. And it is a thing with Doctor Who of characters dying, quote unquote, and coming back.
Rory.
And, Rose also in a way.
And Jack. A lot.
And Jack. Maybe in the future we can mix it up with joking about other characters.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that's the thing. Rose is the companion at the time. I mean, when Martha comes on board, we'll be like, I can't believe Martha died. Or when
I don't want to joke about Martha dying. That's upsetting. Yeah. So,
Oh yeah,
So
wait till we get to World Enough in Time. I'll be like, I can't believe Bill died in this episode. It's true.
I can't believe Clara died in this episode.
Okay, so somewhere I looked it up. The dates, the year is 1941 in this episode. In Victory of the Daleks, the year is also 1941. So somewhere out there, possibly during this episode, is Eleven and Amy hanging out with the Daleks and Winston Churchill.
While the Pevensies are off exploring a wardrobe.
Right.
There's still a lot of things happening at the same time right now.
Right.
Very busy year for the Doctor.
Yep.
One thing I thought that was funny in this episode that the Doctor says that the TARDIS phone is not even real or hooked up.
Yep.
But then like later in New Who, we see that the TARDIS phone is real and actually hooked up, and the Doctor gets phone calls on it.
I'm trying to remember I think the first time that part of the phone, we know there's a phone inside the TARDIS.
Yeah.
But I think the first time that part's used is the Bells of St. John.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
Because the Doctor's a monk and he's like, it's not supposed, he says it's not supposed to do that.
Okay. But they do use the phone again
in the 50th anniversary. And the Time of the Doctor and Time Heist and a lot of other episodes.
Yeah. I guess it's just like, I don't know, maybe there was an explanation at one point, or maybe it's just some like weird joke that the TARDIS phone works even though it's not supposed to. I don't know.
It is possible Missy had something to do with that, because it was Missy that gave Clara the phone number to the TARDIS.
Yeah, but that was still post Bells of St. John.
No, that was Bells of St. John. Because
was it?
Yeah, because Clara in that episode, Clara says a woman in a shop gave me this number. So
I assumed the woman in the shop was River.
No, it was Missy. It's explained. It must have been a long time since you've seen.
It's been a while.
Yeah, because in Death in Heaven, it's explained that Missy is the one that gave out the number.
Okay. Yeah.
Because also in Hellbent, the whole hybrid thing of it being two people, Clara and the Doctor, and me is like, how did you meet Clara? The Doctor's like, Missy, and me's like, Missy, the Master.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it was a setup for a very dangerous combination.
Okay. Yeah. Doctor Who is a very confusing show and there's a lot going on. So like it doesn't surprise me that I like either missed all that or forgot all of that.
Once we get to that, I'll point it out to you.
Yeah, I mean I'll be on the lookout for it for sure. But yeah, it's been a little while. Let's see. Yeah, and also just like, the chameleon circuit is supposedly broken as well, but the TARDIS exterior changes fairly frequently.
Right.
So, I don't think the TARDIS is actually broken in all the ways the Doctor thinks it's broken.
Right. I mean, we know the TARDIS has a personality of its own.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's like the TARDIS wants to choose her outfit, okay?
Yeah, and I really enjoy that about the TARDIS. I love in the Doctor's wife when the TARDIS as a person is like, but I always took you where you needed to go.
Yeah.
Which was kind of like, at that point we had probably kind of figured that out as a fan base, but it was nice to hear like the confirmation of it, like
the lead up to Nancy being the mother.
Yeah.
So good in this episode.
One thing I wrote down was that, and I guess like, just like all the pieces of the puzzle that come together at the end of the next episode, they're all here.
Yeah.
You could reasonably figure out the solution to everything
Which is honestly unique for a Moffat episode, because usually he's just like throw in a quick resolution.
Yeah, there's usually some timey-wimey stuff, but this was a very good setup to the mystery. And I think that's kind of how the best mysteries are, where you have all the pieces to solve it before it's solved. You just don't quite know how the pieces fit together.
Right, and that's why Knives Out is so unique. Because it has a completely different formula than most mysteries.
So spoilers for Knives Out. If you have not seen it, definitely watch Knives Out. It's very
really
good.
It's really good.
But yeah, like basically halfway through the movie, you kind of get like half of the resolution to the mystery like handed to you.
Not even in the first half hour, it's revealed who the murderer is.
Yeah, or
like you figure out it was purely suicide. In a way.
Yeah, you get to this point in the movie and you think you know like how it's going to end, and then like it turns into kind of like a thriller, a thriller movie. But then like there's another twist, of course, at the end, and like you find out what really happened. But like all the pieces are there the whole time.
Right.
It just does a very good job of like misdirection. You have
that's the biggest thing about magicians and just mystery stuff like that, is just the art of misdirection.
Yeah, you have the promise, and then you have the whatever, and then you have the prestige.
Yep.
I don't remember how it goes exactly, but
I don't remember.
Nolan movie.
It's a good movie. I think that's my favorite Nolan movie, to be honest.
It's very good, and I think it's, again, it kind of works in its, and I don't want to call that a simple movie because it's not, but
no, I was very confused the first time.
it works very well, as again, it has kind of that same like thing of a good mystery where you have all the pieces, but like in that movie they're literally out of order, and it's not until the very final shot that they all come together.
Right. Also, what's up with Doctor Who and always hinting towards there's another doctor present? It's like, you need to talk to the doctor, and then the doctor just gets a look on his face like, what? And like, every time,
it probably like was actually effective the first couple times, but they just kept doing it and kept doing it and kept like trying to convince us that we're gonna meet another doctor.
Until one day we actually did.
Until we actually did, and it was, well, depending on which time. The last time they did it was very weird.
That's the time that's the time I was talking about.
Okay. Oh boy, Chibnall.
We'll get to that later.
That's like our catchphrase. We'll get to that later.
We'll get to the timeless children later. I think we see that every episode.
We probably talk about the timeless children at least like in some vague sense every episode.
Yep. That's all the spoiler notes I have. I don't know about you.
Yeah, that is all I have got.
Okay. Sweet. All right.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the next one. Definitely like one of my favorites of the season coming up.
Yeah, no, I have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, I'm completely in suspense.
I'm in so much suspense. What's the doctor? How's the doctor going to pull it off?
I mean, is everyone going to die, or is everyone going to live? Just this once. Will everyone live?
Just this once. I would love it if everyone lived. Personally, but I mean, it's
it's very doubtful.
It's very doubtful that that's going to happen.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Next time, we will be watching Doctor Who Series 1, Episode 10, The Doctor Dances, where we get to see the Doctor get on some of his groove.
He's going to do the mamba.
Oh,